In the last video, we created our very first fast API project. So we have our API project ready with dependent packages as we already imported necessary modules there. In this video, we will use API router and we will also see how to structure bigger applications. So let's first try to understand why we need API router when we can write entire code in main.py file itself. The answer is very simple. For a small application, it is okay to keep our code base in a single file. But as our code base grows or we are working on a bigger project, we will find it to be messy. So to keep our code base clean from the beginning, we are utilizing API router from FastAPI. Let's first see how our code will look like without API router. The code base shown in the main.py file is a non-routerish code. Here, for an example, it has home page, about page, contact page, and service page in a single file. Since this is an example, we have taken four basic functions for home, about, contact, and service endpoints. But in a real life scenario or in a big project, you may find more than 20 to 30 functions. Then routers will become necessary because handling too much complexity in a single page will make it a cumbersome job. So, router works with the purpose that while working in a team, you may have to divide complexity among the team members, which will help in completing the project much faster. Now, let's apply the same approach and divide the code into different files to divide the complexity. For that, I am creating one more file inside APIs folder and naming it as app_router.py. Let's understand what we did here. In this code, we imported API router from FastAPI. Then we created an instance of API router and named page_router. Next is home and about function, which will return a string at their respective endpoint. Now it's time to update our main.py file because the main.py file is unaware of this addition to our project. Thus, we need to inform main.py file to include page_router. We are done now, and you can also see that our main.py file is now clean compared than previous code in which all the endpoints were declared inside it. Now let's start the server by running the command uvcon main app hyphen hyphen reload in the terminal and visit localhost at port number 8000. You should see the router response at both endpoints which we defined in the code. Here we are done with routers. Now you can use them to divide the complexity of your project without interrupting the functionality of API or code of main.py file. In addition, FastAPI provides interactive API documentation. It automatically generates the Swagger documentation for us. The API documentation allows us to test our API endpoint directly from the browser. We can get the API documentation by adding docs and redoc after FastAPI app URL and can play with the auto-generated Swagger documentation. For example, you can see the docs by visiting at the localhost and you will get this interface. Similarly, you can also visit to the redoc URL and can get this interface here. It brings us to the end of this session. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.